Today's episode is brought to you by the folks over at SeatGeek, the best and easiest to use ticket platform out there. They take the confusion out of buying tickets using a 0 to 10 scoring system and a green is good, red is bad color rating system so you and your loved ones get the best deal possible. So whether it's going to see our beloved Redlegs at Great American Ballpark, the Bengals over at Paycor, FC Cincinnati, one of the area college teams, or pretty much anything in between, use promo code Riverfront at checkout and receive $20 off your first order. Click the link in the show notes to download the app and get started. That's Riverfront, one word, for $20 off.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the jungle. I hope you all are having a fantastic week. We're getting actual summer-like weather here in Cincinnati, which is dope, though I'm still wearing a hoodie because it is absolutely freezing in my basement. I'm your host, Joe Farsing. Alongside me, Parker Felix. Parker, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty good today. Excited to talk about the moves the Bengals made at the draft.
It was definitely interesting. I followed remotely off my phone on Friday, after the first round that we were live on Friday and Saturday, but we got a lot of good stuff to talk about here. Can't get ready to get into it. Got a little bit of few bits of news and notes that we'll get into here in just a few seconds. But before we do, also proud to be part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that fun crap. You can smash it. You can caress the subscribe button. I don't care. You can be violent, gentle. It's your phone, your computer. I don't care. Whatever. Again, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/RiverfrontCincy. You get access to Patreon exclusives like our Slack channel. We do hangouts on Zoom and stuff like that. It's a cool time. We're cool people. I think you should support us. Parker, do you think they should support us?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't liked this video yet, then what the hell are you doing? But if you want to go on the Patreon and support even more, then you need to go ahead and do that if you'd like to.
I think so. I mean, that's how I came to get my own show on here. I was
like $2 a month too.
Right. I was a patron and just kind of bugged the hell out of Chad and Nate until they finally got me to shut up and give me a Bengals show. So, all right, let's get into it. Quick little bit of news and notes. Obviously, T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson, they're still Cincinnati Bengals. Did you expect anything to change?
No, not in the near future, at least.
Yeah, I mean, you don't bully Mike Brown into a trade. This would have been the only time they would have considered a trade was before the draft or during the draft, just to improve draft stock or move up in the draft or anything like that. And obviously that didn't happen. Bengals are still planning on both of them to be a big part of the 2024 season. Nothing has changed. I think the wide receiver room is awesome now after one of the picks they just made. I think it could be better than it was last year. We'll get into the other the guy who's left here in a second, but yeah, I mean, they're here. They're going to play out their contracts, and we'll see after this year what happens. But 2024, they're here. Dex Hill officially is a cornerback. I guess he's going to be working with the outside. I don't either stick him working on the outside or stick him in the slot. I don't care. No yo-yoing back and forth. He's got the speed. He's got the physical ability to be successful. It's kind of frustrating that he is a first-round pick from 2 years ago, and he's just still kind of trying to figure out where he's going to be. Wow. Obviously, being a safety was not it last year. He just wasn't in the right place. But I don't know if they're going to work him as compete him with DJ Turner for the number 2 cornerback spot since they didn't address that spot high in the draft. What do you think? Where do you think he is in that room?
Well, the one good thing here is he's still 23 years old. He'll be 23 at the beginning of the season, so he's the same age as some of these guys getting drafted right now.
Younger.
So he's still young. That is good there. Right now, I'd say he's probably like on the outside, corner 3, because Hilton's in the slot, obviously, but corner 3 on the outside, and then he can compete, like you said, with DJ Turner for that number 2 spot.
Yeah, even as third outside cornerback, he's still going to get a lot of snaps. He's still going to see 500, 600, even assuming health with the other guys, he's still going to be on the field a lot throughout the season. So,
Yeah.
again, here's hoping. I mean, they've got a strong coaching
want
staff.
To be number 2, though, at least, because, I mean, like you said, that's a first-round pick.
Yeah.
A lot of these first-round picks have not worked out so far. It's just frustrating. Outside of Joe and Jamar, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. The Bengals have decided to be more active in free agency and spending legit, capital and getting guys starting back in 2020 with guys like DJ Reed. Yeah, and DJ Turner or DJ Reader. Yeah. But the reason they became more active is because they have not been good drafting. I mean, Duke gets a pass a lot on these things. He shouldn't, but I think the Browns adopted him, so he's stuck in that nepotism void. This is a very important draft for him, very important draft for the team, for that matter. These first round picks, especially first couple round picks. I mean, we go back to Jackson Carman, and that pick was an absolute whiff in 2021 in the second round. These first day picks you cannot miss on day 1, day 2 picks. And then you got to start getting more hits on day 3, and they haven't gotten any of them. But we'll see how this. We still have a couple years to gauge on Dax Hill's draft class, and we have several years to worry about this year's draft class. So we shall see. Speaking of the old wide receiver 3 from last year, when we were talking about the wide receiver room, Tyler Boyd reportedly meeting with Tennessee. There's a lot of reports out there that he's probably going to sign there, which makes sense. He'd be reunited with Brian Callahan. Good culture fit for a first-time head coach. He also met with the Chargers. Chargers totally had to remake over their wide receiver room, so he'd also be a fit there. There was some rumblings because he hadn't signed that Bengals would bring him back. Do you see any reason? Not that they left with any bridges burned or anything like that, but do you even see a fit with him coming back to the Bengals?
Not really at this point. I mean, we drafted Burton. I feel like that's kind of the Tyler Boyd replacement there. I mean, there's definitely a spot for him if he wanted to come back on a super cheap deal, but I feel like it's almost a pride thing. Like, he's not going to come back for, very, very little money, something like that. I don't know. Tennessee seems like a good fit. Like you said, Callahan's there. Will Levis needs another, competent receiver for him, and that'd be, a perfect spot for him to slide in as that number 3 behind Ridley and D-Hop. But I just don't see him coming back to the Bengals at this point. I feel like there'd be more talks about it, more negotiation talks, and we really haven't heard anything at this point.
Yeah, it's funny because when I first heard the Tennessee, I was thinking they also have Treylon Burks, first rounder in 2022, but he was not good. He was pretty decent as a rookie. Last year, his numbers were really bad, so that maybe that makes sense. Put some pressure on him. Plus, they're different types of receivers. I don't think Treylon Burks is a slot receiver, and Boyd is nothing but a slot receiver. He can't beat press coverage on the outside. So, good luck for him. I mean, goes down as one of the better, top 10, top 15 receivers for the Bengals. And say what you want about the Bengals' history, they have not lacked for receivers. Starting day 1, they have always had some stud. I think I looked back over the history, and it was short of, I think, one season that they did not have a wide receiver on their team that made a Pro Bowl at some point in their Bengals career. So Tyler Boyd fits in. Yeah. I mean, even like Chip Myers, guys from the very, very beginning. I mean, even in the down years of the 90s, they had Carl Pickens. And say what you want about Carl Pickens, the guy was an asshole. He was a fantastic wide receiver. If he could just, he was petulant, but he also had a reason to be petulant. The organization was just an absolute, and this was before your time. It was a dark, dark time. I mean, this was my teen years that Bengals weren't on TV half the time because home games, you had to have the games sold out by Thursday.
That was a thing even when I was younger. That was terrible.
I can't remember. Yeah, I couldn't remember when that went away, but
it wasn't that long ago.
Okay. I mean, you'd only get Steelers week and Browns week were the only home games that you'd get because their fans would be buying up the tickets. And outside of that, they were bad. I followed them, but I didn't really want to watch them too much until, Corey Dillon made them at least interesting to watch. They were terrible, but you could see him run over a bunch of guys for 3 hours on a Sunday. So
Yeah, and like when I think of Tyler Boyd, he had a hell of a career for the Bengals, over 500 receptions, 6,000 yards, 31 touchdowns.
513 receptions, 513.
Yeah,
Like that's perfect.
513. Yeah, I mean, he had a hell of a Bengals career, hell of a run here. He had some awesome plays for the Bengals. I'm thinking about the Andy Dalton to him play that knocked the Ravens out of the playoffs that one year. That was awesome. And
Buffalo will buy that. He will drink for free in Buffalo for the rest of his life.
Yep, him and Andy will for sure.
Yeah.
And he had a bunch of great plays. He was part of that Super Bowl contending team. He's also he's the last remaining Bengal, like of that era, the Andy Dalton era.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was him and Mixon
on the offensive side of the ball. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, it's I would be surprised if he doesn't sign with Tennessee, given this late in the stage, unless he's going to wait until camp when bodies start falling, getting hurt and stuff like that. But you figure he'd want to have something before then. I mean, he's still on the right side of 30. He's not old by any means, or is he 30?
He's 29.
20. Okay, yeah, I thought so. I didn't think he was 30 yet. So
and he's still a really good. Like he's still solid. Lots of teams would want him as their number 3 receiver.
It's just
he can still put up 600 to 800 yards a season. Like he's still a solid receiver.
He just occasionally has the concentration lapses that he never really had until the last couple of years.
It's nuts.
Yeah, the one against Houston is the huge one. I mean, that would have won the game. That potentially, I don't know how the tiebreakers and everything would have worked out, but you do that and you're tied for the last.
We would have been in the playoffs.
I think so. I can't remember how everything turned out, but I think that would have. Again, you can't go.
If we beat the Chiefs the game before and like we went out, I'm pretty sure we would have made the playoffs. So yeah.
And you can't blame him 100% for like them not making the playoffs, but like it's like, dude, it was right there in your hand, man.
Ball. and how great would the playoffs have really been with Jake Browning? Like how great would it have been? I don't know. Right. He had some games he played well, but still,
he was one of in terms of accuracy, one of the most accurate, and I mean, he was fun to watch. I mean, he was very much a poor man's Joe Burrow.
He's the best Bengals backup we've had since I was alive. Truthfully, like he performed really well for a backup, I think.
Well, and what's funny is all the talk during training camp last year and during the preseason games was somebody win a job, either him or Trevor Siemian, and they both looked absolutely like ass, like the entire preseason. Browning finally in like the third game, the second game was okay, third game like looked solid, but like he didn't win the job so much as Siemian just took himself out of the running by just being terrible. And you're like, man, we're hurting. If Burrow goes down for a couple of games, like, man, that's better hope that they've got a nice cushion. And Burrow goes out the week they go 5-5, and he went 4-3 down the stretch, and again was one game away from possibly leading them to the playoffs. So I mean, it's nice to have that to know that. Again, I mean, love Burrow, don't want anything to happen to him, knock on whatever, but he's gotten two season-ending injuries in 4 seasons, so having that guy behind that you're comfortable with and can win games, that's a good thing, and your players are comfortable with since he was around for half the season.
The thing I like too is it's not like the offense changed that much. Like they still trusted Jake. They still slung the ball. Like they still threw the ball a lot. It was still a very pass-heavy offense. Like normally, a lot of times you see like when Brandon Allen would come into the games, like the game would instantly go, all right, we're screen, run the ball, run the ball.
Yeah.
Like they trusted Browning a lot more.
Yeah. So that's, again, like
some monster numbers, weirdly. Like stat wise, he's probably a top 10 quarterback while he played, like statistically.
His he was top, I think he was 10 or 12 in PFF grade for all quarterbacks. Somewhere in the top 15, which is absolutely, which again, for a guy that had kicked around and really hadn't done much in the handful of years since 2019 when he came out of Washington. So don't want to see him. Like I'd love to see him play in the fourth quarter when the Bengals are up 4 touchdowns. However, I don't want to see him taking the first snaps of the game.
Yeah, he can play week 18 when we have the division locked up, hopefully. That's when he can play. Start.
There we go. I'm cool with that. All right, on to the draft from last week. Any initial thoughts? Were you surprised that they kept and made all 10 draft picks?
Yes, a little bit. I thought they would have, traded just for some later draft capital. Because a lot of times when you have 10 picks, a lot of times you're shipping off 2 or 3 of those. Just get some later draft picks in future years and stuff that could turn into something. kind of just to not worry about it right now almost.
Yeah.
But we talked a little bit about it on the show, on the live show. What are your thoughts on the pick, the first round pick, Mims? What are your thoughts on that? Because like I like the pick, but I did agree with some of Seth's points where he's talking about like it's a depth pick and stuff like that. It does seem a little depth picky, and the thing with that is just like our first round picks haven't worked out really at all in recent years outside of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. So it kind of scares me making a move like that.
This draft as a whole was very much this is swinging for the fences with some of these, because some of these can explode, can blow up in your face. Mims looks like the guy. His numbers on tape, like the tape that he has out there, looks fantastic. He's gigantic. Again, he fits the Bengals mold of guys that are 6'7", 6'8". He's 340 pounds. This should have been the I projected them picking Johnny Newton. Amari Smith was right there as the obvious. Yeah, this is probably who they're going to go. It might not be a depth pick. Trent Brown is not a guy who's been very durable throughout the season or throughout his career. He's on the older side, and there's no reason that Mims can't come in and take the job from him in training camp. And then you've got a fantastic swing tackle in Trent Brown. Trent Brown's only on a one year deal, so you bring him in, let him compete for a job. He's probably not going to win it outright, but he's going to play a lot of snaps. You're going to see him in heavy formation as an extra tight end, or as an extra blocker. And if anybody get hurt, if Orlando Brown goes down, they'll move Trent to the left side and put Mims in, or if Trent Brown goes down, he immediately goes to 1-for-1 replacement. So it's not as if it's going to be a red shirt year. He's going to get a lot of time. Somebody's going to go out for a series. Last year they had Cody Ford come in and replace Orlando Brown in, I want to say, the Arizona game. I can't remember which, but Cody Ford is a not very good guard and a worse tackle, and that was the first guy off the bench to fill in for a quarter when someone went out. So you've got you immediately have a huge upgrade there just as the swing tackle. But I think he'll get a fair amount of play. Plus, they gave him number 71, and we'll pull this up since we're going into the picks here. Gave him number 71, which is the number of the greatest right tackle in Cincinnati Bengals history. A should-be Hall of Famer if people can get their shit together and forget that, and realize that it's okay to put Bengals in the Hall of Fame. Like, they've had some fantastic players. Big Willie Anderson. So, big shoes to fill, but he looks like the dude.
I agree with you. Definitely, like, I don't hate the pick by any means. I think it is a position of need and everything like that, and I agree with everything you said. I want to see one of these offensive linemen work out for us that we draft. Live up to the bill.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Kevin Zeitler was the last offensive lineman that they drafted that actually lived up to billing, and they let him go because I don't know, they're undervalued guards, and they've been looking for decent guard play ever since. Where they picked, I don't even know who else. The guys that I wanted, Johnny Newton and Rook Ororo, was those guys were picked at the top of round 2. So it's not as if like those guys went right after. So I don't know, the edges that were on the board or other positions. Maybe Quinion Mitchell, the cornerback out of Toledo, but I don't know where else they could have gone with that if they're looking for that immediate impact pick anyway.
Yeah, only other thing would be receiver.
Yeah. Trying to think who went after them was Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, I was about to say Brian Thomas Jr. was available.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy, that's a weird pick to me. Was
he projected in like the 3rd?
Yeah. All of a sudden, because the Chiefs pick him, it's a fantastic pick because he's got speed. He doesn't have great hands. He's a decent route runner. But he's not the prospect that John Ross was. People look at him, just pure speed. And John Ross was more than pure speed. Like, he had good hands, was a good route runner. He just got screwed because Marvin Lewis was his coach and
kept getting hurt.
Well, yeah, and then just kept getting shit on by his coach. But Worthy, that's a weird pick, man.
It is. He could still end up being a Hall of Famer just because he's playing with Patrick Mahomes. But
Right.
like,
They just
but, like,
brought in his
definitely
clone.
reached though.
Yeah,
Yeah, they definitely just brought in Tyreek's clone.
Well, no, they brought in Hollywood Brown's clone, and they just brought up Hollywood Brown, or they just brought him in. So why now you have another like just complete downfield threat? Like you need somebody to catch the underneath route. Like your wide receivers, your entire wide receiver room was ass.
Yeah,
They got him in front of Ricky Pearsall, Xavier, like guys that were slot receivers or guys that can run a more full route tree. So I'm perfectly fine if that pick bombs on him. So. On to pick number 2 here, and this is the one that I think was probably the smartest pick that they had in the entire, like not the highest ceiling, but I think just the absolute smartest pick. Chris Jenkins Jr., second round, number 49 at Michigan. Apparently Zach Taylor had his fingers crossed the entire second round, and this is what I was talking about, like trading some of their picks to move up high. Like if this is the guy you wanted from the beginning, and you're hoping he's going to be there. Trade that capital and move up earlier in the round, but he fell to them. Not a huge defensive tackle. He's, I think, 310, 305. Yeah, I was going to say he's not your nose tackle, DJ Reader type size, but he's a fantastic run stopper. His numbers are great. He's got the quickness to shed blocks. That signals that they're going to run a different front. I'm not the X's and O's guys to know odd front, even front, things like that, but they're not going to have line up with a true nose tackle like DJ Reader directly over top the center. They drafted a guy later that we'll get to that's similar size that, they might bring him in on specific packages, but they're going to run more traditional 4-3 looks. He has pass rushing juice. He's got the ability, like he's got the quickness to take down the quarterback, but he's brought in primarily just as a run stopper, and I think it was just a smart move.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely think this was probably the smartest pick we made throughout the draft. He slipped a little bit in the draft, fell right into our spot. I agree with you though. Like, give up 2 7s to move up, or something. Like, I just don't get that. That's just stupid. Especially because, like, what if we don't get him? Like, what's your backup plan? I don't understand that. It's I don't know. We make it seem easier than it is, but this just seems really easy, in my opinion. But overall, in terms of like scheme fit and stuff, I think it's definitely a good fit. Like you said, really good run stuffer. He's really fast and agile. Not trying to foreshadow anything, but like he's a similar type player a little bit to Geno Atkins in terms of like the agility, the quickness, stuff like that. Not an overly huge defensive tackle. So I really like this pick. I definitely think it's a position of need, and
I really think that they would have had to go down to like Michael Hall Jr., but I think Devondre Sweat, who was looked at as a second to third rounder earlier in the draft process, fell down the board because he had the DUI and just always had an issue with just kind of maturity issues. And all of a sudden, people were talking about him in the third round, fourth round, maybe even later. He went, He went 11 picks before the Bengals in the second round to the Titans. So, yeah, that they were able to get a guy with that ability and that pedigree there, I think, is luck more than anything else. Like, yeah, it's Bengals need to just see their guy and go get him. Like, make the moves to make sure that you're getting that guy as opposed to hoping and then going for your fallback. But again, the pick itself was a smart pick, and again, well needed for a team that was terrible against the run last year.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. Overall, I just think it's a solid fit, and it's going to help us a lot this season, especially if people go down, stuff like that. That'll help us even more.
Absolutely. All right, third round pick, first pick of the 2 that they had. This is the biggest wild card to me. This could make the draft go boom or go bust. Jermaine Burton, third round, number 80 overall to Alabama, is going to be wearing number 81 here for the Bengals. Would have been awesome if he wore number 3 in college. Would have been fantastic if he wore 3 with the Bengals, so they could have the 5-1-3 with
exactly, with
Higgins, Chase, and Burton. I missed the opportunity. I don't know if he was given the 83 or given the 81 or asked for it.
Or 81 on the Bengals, right?
What's that?
Did T.O. wear 81 on the Bengals?
Yeah, that's pretty much the only. Him and Eddie Brown are the only two guys to make any. I mean, I guess T.O. made an impact. He played one season and was fine for him. Irv Smith was the last one. Then there was Tyler Kroft and a bunch of like nobody wide receivers. So maybe he can break the mold and have a big impact. But big thing to remember with Burton: 0 drops last year. Explosive ability, downfield threat, but he can run the entire tree. Like it's not just he's running 9 routes or just running the vertical route tree. Ultra competitive as a positive and a negative. He has some maturity and temper issues. Like there's the issue with the crowd rushing incident in Tennessee where he, I guess, smacked some lady upside the head when they were getting rushed. Learned his lesson because the very next week, I think it was LSU or somewhere wherever he was. They rushed the field against them, and then he just quick ducked out of bounds, like they're ducked in the locker room. So this is
an old school Bengals pick.
Yeah, this is
with the maturity issues and everything.
We're taking somebody who, I mean, he was looked at as several. I saw several people have him as wide receiver 4 on their boards in terms of just sheer ability.
Yeah.
But he fell, and I think he was the 12th or something overall, going where he is. If he can keep his crap in order, and he'd been working with TJ Houshmandzadeh for several years, so having that personal connection, like with someone who's been with the team, hopefully that gives him a little extra motivation. Like you don't want to let the guy down who kind of mentored you. If he can keep his shit together, like this is a fantastic pick. I mean, this is a starter. This is someone who can move all over the formation. Which is nice because I don't think they're really going to have a true slot receiver guy as Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd pretty much only, like ran slot routes. They can move all these guys. T can run a little bit out of the slot, but Burton and Chase, like you can line them up anywhere all over the formation. It just makes it harder to match up against. So it's a little bit of a risk, but especially in the 3rd round, I think it's a really strong pick.
Yeah, anytime you can get a receiver that's top 5 in their position on some people's big boards in the 3rd round, you'll definitely take that. I'm for like at skill positions. I'm definitely for like boom or bust type picks at skill positions because like I just feel like the reward outweighs the negatives if it doesn't work out, especially with a 3rd round pick. And you still have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase at receiver if he doesn't work out. So it's like it's not the end of the world. I do like this pick a lot. 4.45 40, so he's got speed. Only thing with him, he lacks size a little bit. He definitely needs to get in the weight room, put on 10, 15 pounds. He's 196 right now is what he weighed in at the combine. So I'd like to see him, get up to 205, 210, something like that. But overall, definitely a high potential pick, and I like this pick.
Absolutely. And again, this is the pick that can make this an absolute home run draft. Some of the other guys are more, Marius Mims, if your 1st rounder bombs out, then you're screwed no matter what happens down the rest of the draft. But this is the guy that can absolutely make it go.
Yeah, agreed.
Second pick that they had in the 3rd round at number 96 overall, McKinley Jackson, Texas A&M defensive tackle, taking the Josh Tupou Memorial, number 68. He's the more traditional nose tackle size. He's 325. I think he's 6'3". I lost his actual
6'1.5".
6'1.5". Okay. Okay. Yeah. Very wide-bodied guy. I think they're hoping he can be groomed into a Reader replacement. You're not going to get the production that you got from DJ Reader, but just that guy that can just take on blocks. It's one thing if he can split a double team and make the play, but even if you can just hold the blocks to keep the linemen off of the 2nd level, that lets your linebackers get on plays. That's I think that's a useful guy for you.
Yeah, agreed. This is obviously a depth pick here later in the 3rd round. Another defensive tackle. We obviously drafted a D tackle in the 2nd round, but like anytime you can get more of a traditional nose tackle and then more of a fast, agile, Aaron Donald archetype D tackle in the same draft, like one of each, the Will Fork archetype and then the Aaron Donald too. You'll definitely take that, and they can definitely play on the field together in different schemes and packages and stuff. But overall, I like this pick. I don't think it's that high risk of a pick because I don't think he has a super high ceiling, but I also don't think he has a super low floor. So I think it's going to work out at worst being a backup D tackle, and late in the third round, you can't complain about that.
When you see the video that I've seen, like he's really quick for someone that fast. Like he's quicker than someone 325 pounds should be. So just being able to get that quick step to get to get to the offensive line before they can get themselves set and get on you, like that's what's needed. I think it was a little early for him, but again, D tackles kind of went off the board, and especially the bigger body like Devondre Sweat was the other guy that I thought, hey, maybe this guy early on day 3. Those guys were going off early, so I think they jumped and took a guy. We talked about them waiting on a guy. This was them actually taking a guy. They didn't trade up for him, but they got him earlier than probably everyone expected, and maybe they could have gotten him with a 4th round pick, but they had multiple 4th round or multiple day 3 picks to be able to utilize elsewhere. So they need someone of that profile. So I think it's just a solid depth. Yeah, a depth pick. I don't expect him to become all pro or any means, but just a guy to be in there on rundowns.
Yeah, the only complaint I have with this pick is I think you could have traded down this pick and gotten him in the 4th round on day 3. I definitely think you could have if you wanted to. And I don't know. Like, it's a fine pick, but I do think they draft him a little too high. Definitely. Maybe.
And that's, again, there were a lot of defensive tackles going off the board this year, a lot earlier than expected, and so I think they just got scared that he wouldn't be there when pick 115 came up. So again, it's surprising that they didn't make a trade with all the picks they had, but I think they're still able to fill needs, so I'm cool with it. Next pick they had, local pick, Eric All, 4th round.
Kittle.
Yeah, exactly. 115 at Texas. Why did I thought to change that? Typo. He's from Iowa, not Texas A&M. I'm an idiot. Anytime you can draft an Iowa tight end, do it.
Yeah,
they have so many tight ends in the league. George Kittle, Hawkinson, Noah Fant. Yeah, Laporta. I know I'm missing more, but yeah, they're between tight ends and guards. They put a ton of players in the NFL.
And none of them really put up monster stats in college because of the way they play. They just block most of the time in college, a lot of the time.
Are you trying to say Iowa does not have a high-powered offense?
Yes. Is that a hot take?
Punt to win, baby.
10-7 versus Wisconsin.
I am so most of the Big Ten has moved on to more modern spread offense, so Ohio State, Michigan, but you still have the Wisconsins, the Iowas that are just, Minnesota I guess Minnesota just does whatever they can, but it's like 1968. Like you're expecting some Wisconsin Nebraska triple option, just run the ball 40 times a game and they'd be happy. And it's boring as hell to watch.
Oh, it's so boring. I don't watch Big Ten football outside of Ohio State and Michigan. I'm not watching that shit.
yeah, it's bad.
Conference realignment might help it.
Yeah. Back to Eric Gold. He's going to be number 83. Was PFF's tight end 3 in the draft class. Local kid from Fairfield High School. Major injury history. This was his drawback. He had spinal surgery in 2022. Called life-altering spinal surgery. That's major major concern there. ACL last season, should be good to go for camp. Age a little bit of a drawback because of the injuries. He turns 24 in September, but ultra productive, has good speed. And I've mentioned him a few times. He was a favorite of mine to be looking in this territory in the mid-rounds for the Bengals, so I was happy to see them pick him up. Good size, 6'5", 250. Has to work on blocking a little bit, but just another guy who can catch the ball. If they can run some 12 personnel with him and Drew Sample, imagine what that opens up in the pass and run game, because you don't know what, you almost run him as a large slot. But if he if he can actually be productive as a blocker, then the defense has to bring in a heavier package, and then you can either run in that or audibilize out of it to to pass downfield to your awesome wide receivers. So
yeah, this is another one of those draft picks we talked about where it's very boom or bust potential here. Like this guy before the injuries, could have ended up being, a second round pick or something. Like he had high value, but the injuries caught up to him in college. And you're kind of banking that he's going to be able to get healthy in the NFL and he's going to get the injuries taken care of. But we'll see. I definitely think there's a chance he could end up being a starter one day, but we'll see for now. It's definitely a good depth pick, like we said, for a lot of these, but more potential if he can stay healthy and can develop into what he was supposed to be at one point.
Yeah, I mean, has the looks, you look at his tape and measurements and everything, underwear Olympics at the combine. I guess he didn't participate in the combine, but, you look at the measurables and stuff like that. And then the production that he had on film, he's a tight end one ability. It's just whether or not he can stay healthy and rehabbing from the injuries. And it doesn't, every time you get injured, there's that risk of coming down one level, down from where you were. So, but again, at this point of the draft, middle of the draft, I think it was a smart, not even a gamble, just a smart choice to pick on him, some of that ability. 5th round, Josh Newton, 149th overall out of TCU. He gets to wear Joe Mixon's number. That's interesting to give that, immediately turn around and give that away to one of your best running backs of all time. But thing to note here, 1 touchdown allowed over 413 snaps and coverage last year. Probably special teams depth. You need cornerbacks. I mean, you need to draft at least one every single year, right?
100%. 100%. I would agree with that. Extra help in the secondary is never a bad thing. And like you said, at worst, he ends up being a special teamer, and you need special teams players. Yeah,
and he's got on this little for what the Bengals like. He's a little bit on the smaller side. 5'11" is fine, but 190. Like Bengals have some pretty stout cornerbacks in Cam Taylor-Britt and DJ Turner. Those guys are over 200 pounds, but he's good press coverage and might a little bit of liability if he's running zone. Doesn't have the speed to catch up when he's trailing, but again, decent guy at this spot in the draft. Decent ability to have right there. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, good pickup. Somebody that can definitely turn into, at minimum, a special teams player at some point, or right away at least. Yeah,
exactly. And if he turns into more, awesome.
Yeah.
Again, you can never have enough cornerbacks. Next pick, first pick in the 6th round for them, Tanner McLaughlin, 6th round, 194th overall. Tight end, we're number 84. Another extremely athletic tight end. I didn't expect them to double up at this spot, or at tight end, when they had so many guys that they brought back. But
also, this is an old tight end. He's 25.
Yeah. That's one thing that you have to worry about for the productivity, but very athletic. If you guys familiar with the RAS score from Kent Platt, Math Bomb, 9.39 out of 10. 0 drops, not much of a blocker, so he's more of a Mike Gesicki backup than anything else than your regular tight end one. At this point, there's probably room for only one Tanner in the tight end room, so I think he's battling Hudson for the tight end 4 or practice squad spot, right?
Yeah, that's what I would have to say. And like that tight end room is filled up now. There's a ton of guys in there.
It's hilarious because they started when the season ended, they had 0 tight ends.
Yeah,
like signed to any contracts. Obviously, they brought back Drew Sample, and then brought back Tanner Hudson, then brought in Mike Gesicki, and then drafted 2 more. So it's obviously that they want. I think that they just want more, just I'm going to say consistency, but I think they want to see the same. I think Burrow wants to see the same tight end one year after the next year, because every year he's been here, he's had a different starting tight end.
Yeah, he has.
So
they definitely want more continuity in there, and it seems like this is going to be a tight end rotation.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, you look at even Kansas City, who has Travis Kelce, who just signed a biggest tight end contract extension in history. I can't hate on the guy because he's a Bearcat. I think he's kind of a wannabe wrestling heel turd sometimes, but I still can't hate him too much. Even having that guy, they rotate Blake Bell. They've keep rotating tight ends out of. They use 3-4 tight ends.
Yeah, Noah Gray plays a ton.
Yeah, and I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, it's especially if you don't have like that guy who is George Kittle who can block and receive like at such a high level. Kelsey isn't a great blocker. That's why they use the room so much. So, again, if you can get productivity out of this guy, again, he's got great hands and he's very athletic. Yeah, he's older, but that may help for the tight end room. Usually tight ends take a couple years before they before they get their footing. It's rare to see the season that Sam Laporta had.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Kelsey didn't even play his rookie year.
Yeah.
He was 25 when he started making an impact.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, you hope maybe that shortens the I don't know if it's a matter of maturity or just learning the different in physicality from college to the NFL. But again, more athletic guys. Bengals seem to actually make a concerted effort to get more athletic where, years past, like they're not really concerned. They're just getting the guy that has good productivity, not trying to look how the athleticism can translate. Like you can do both. You can get guys who are productive and very athletic and bring them on. You've got a better chance of actually developing them in the NFL. So next pick number 2 they had in the 6th round, Cedric Johnson, 214th overall, defensive end out of Ole Miss, one of 2 Ole Miss picks. We'll get to the other one here next. Very productive in college. Going to need a little bit of refinement. 6'3", 260. So he's got a good, solid body, not as long as they usually go. I mean, Bengals have traditionally liked the guys 6'6", 6'5", 6'7", in that range. But another very good athlete, could be a solid rotational pass rusher. This is somewhere else, in another position to where you just keep bringing guys in year after year, right?
This is a boom or bust pick, 1,000%. This guy's super athletic. He's quick. He's 21 years old. Like there's still plenty of time for him to improve. This is 100% a, boom or bust pick here in the 6th round, and I like that there. There's potential for him to develop into more, and at worst, he'll be on the special team squad.
Yeah, especially with the new kickoff rules, like you need more linebacker and athletic defensive ends, and he actually dropped into coverage fair amount as a defensive end, and covered pretty well because he almost the size of a just a little bit of a heavier linebacker. So
yeah,
I like not that you're expecting your 6th rounder to turn out into anything. I mean, hell, we're struggling with 2nd and 3rd rounders to turn out into anything. But when you look into trades, this is a good guy to look for that can contribute something of use. So
100%.
Next pick on to the 7th round, Dejon Anthony, 7th round, 120 or 224th overall. Again, their other pick from Ole Miss. Drafted as a safety, played slot cornerback as well. Ball hawking abilities, and can absolutely lay the wood. I'm going to bring this up here. Just ask Jaden Daniels, the number 2 overall pick.
3rd down and 8. Daniels out of the pocket. He's going to try and run for it. Breaking tackles. He gets popped.
Absolutely. That's Von Bell, Juju Smith-Schuster type hit. And just absolutely just laid the wood, laid him out, knocked the ball free. Guy's got the dog in him. I saw several times Mike Hilton, who's another Ole Miss legend, thrown around for that type of mentality. Just a guy who's going to play so much bigger than his size is. Top of the 7th round. Like again, this is safety room. Just need a little bit more depth. These guys going to see a lot on special teams, but has
hard
the ability.
Hitter on the special teams.
What's that?
I like it. I said hard hitter on the special teams unit. I like that.
Exactly. I'm curious. Like we're talking about the tight ends and linebackers, essentially are going to be the biggest need for kickoff returns with the way they've redone. How they're doing the new strategy and everything. I'm curious to see how that works out. Like I'm hoping to see a lot of actual returns because it's boring as hell, and it's been just an absolute waste. Just landing the ball up to 35 and the kicker kicking it over, kicking it through the uprights. And like, why are we doing this? I'm glad. Like I think it's a little goofy, like the new rules, but it's better than just same old. Just take the ball at the 25 after the perfunctory kick. Like why even kick at that point? Just set it there.
Yeah, agreed with you. I just think solid depth pick, somebody that can help us out. And, Not a bad 7th round pick by any means.
Yeah. Seventh round pick, 237 overall. Matt Lee, center out of Florida. This is an absolute. I think this is a home run pick this late in the draft to get somebody who was one of the better interior offensive linemen. I think he was the 5th rated center coming into the draft. Crazy good athlete, 9th best ever RAS score for a center for as long as he's been doing it, 9.86 out of 10. Needs to add weight. He's a little on the lighter side, but I think he's the center of the future. I think they brought him in thinking that next year, like I can see the Bengals extending Karras. Karras' deal is up after this year. I can see them extending him for 2025, but there being an actual position battle coming into the year with him.
Yeah, and I mean, we have seen the undersized centers. I mean, have worked. Jason Kelsey obviously comes to mind.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'd like him to put on weight, but I think this could definitely be a starting pick in the future as well. Super athletic. I always like to see that out of a center. So it's a home run pick in the 7th round, like you said.
To get that athletic ability and just someone that could just on pulling, like I don't know how much actual. Bengals aren't much of a pulling run style team, but have someone who can do that, who's got the speed. He ran a 5.0340.
Yeah, that's fast.
At 290 pounds for an offensive lineman. Like, that's incredibly fast. I probably run a 7.040 at 230 pounds.
They got him at, they have him at 301.
Okay.
On the NFL website.
Really?
They got him at 301. Yeah.
I've seen him a lot. I saw him 288 somewhere. Where did I? Okay. Either way, he's on the lighter side. But then again, Karras was on the lighter side too. So that, having that guy, I think Karras is one of the better mentor type players in the league. Like, the guy's just incredibly outgoing and knowledgeable guy. So I think having him train him, not that you want to train your replacement, but he knows, he understands the point of it. He was interviewed after this year saying that he breathed a sigh of relief that after day 2 that they had drafted an interior offensive lineman.
Yeah.
But he knows, like, that's, any other guys, like, you need to be a great teammate and help these guys come along, because even if he's not taking your job, you might get injured, or someone else if Volson gets injured, the move might be move Karras over to the guard where he's played a lot and then bring in him. So helping along, I think it's just a good solid pick. So
I'm with you there.
That rounds out all 10 of their picks. I'll pull up a quick slide here with the undrafted free agents that they signed. There's a lot of them. Most of them aren't really important. The running backs are bigger and slow. Noah Kane ran a 4.7, which is not great. There's a chance one of them stick around because they don't have that bigger bodied running back. What's that?
I was about to say, I don't think I could get there, but I could get close to there. 4.7, like dead ass, and I haven't been playing sports in 2 years. I could probably get to a 4.8, 4.9, so that's not that great. Nah.
I mean, this is a guy that played in the SEC. Good on him. He's damn good at what he does, but you need to have
really slow for a running back.
Yeah, rare to have someone that slow out of the running back room. Brought in a quarterback. Obviously, you just need arms in training camp and in mini camps and stuff like that. Just, you have so many receivers and running backs and tight ends to throw the ball to. You just need as many arms as possible. The one name of importance is Austin McNamara, punter out of Texas Tech. He was one of the highest graded and rated punters coming in the draft, averaged, I think, 46 yards per punt in college. Absolutely going to be a battle between him and Brad Robbins. At least they didn't waste a pick on a punter this year, but they need to get better. It's been several years. Kevin Huber wasn't very good his last couple years punting. Drew Chrisman was not good at all punting the 1 year. I don't want to say he cost them in AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, but it sure as hell didn't help them. He kicked a low line drive to set up the nice, easily returnable to set up that last game-winning field goal drive. You don't need to be Ryan Stonehouse. You don't need to be kicking it 40 or 55 yards a pop. Just kick at 46 with decent hang time and have him fair catch the ball. That's all I care about. Robbins was supposedly this guy who'd kick it way up in the air, but he's kicking it 41 yards, and they're still returnable. So do better.
Agreed. The punting has been a serious issue the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and it's there's only 32 jobs in the world of that level. Like, there are more than 32 guys capable of doing that.
Yeah, 100%.
At a solid level, and they're struggling finding guys. I mean, again, like, I don't care if you have a all-pro punter. You don't just kick the fucking thing down and just make sure no one returns it for a touchdown. It's just that easy. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't like. I'm a Kentucky fan, so I know who this is. But like Max Duffy, he won the Ray Guy Award. Is that what it is for punter of the year?
Yeah.
He won it 2 straight years in college, and he has no job out there whatsoever. He's an Australian style like kick, but like I'm sure he could do a better job than Brad Robbins did this year. Like, seriously, like, there's guys out there I feel like that could do better production than what we've had. And it's not just him. There's tons of guys out there. But like, I don't know. Does
he have the cool ass mustache though?
Yeah, no. I don't
That's the thing. Robin's only saving grace is he's got a cool ass mustache.
That's it.
We just rattled off a bunch of names. They're all Bengals, at least at least until the cuts start coming in. Any thoughts that we haven't touched on? Any guys that you would have liked them to have gotten instead of the guys that they picked?
Not really. I'm fine with all the moves they made because, like, I'm not gonna get nitpicky about anything past the second round. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, "Oh, I wanted them with the 188th pick to take." Like,
right. You hear a lot of that though. Like, you get a lot of that, and it's like, okay, you're pick 225. Who the shit cares?
Yeah, because somebody will get lucky once and predict Brock Purdy was going to be a superstar. So
right.
Like, I don't know, but not really. I'm fine with what they did. The moves are good, safe moves, a lot of them. But like you said, if Burton can develop into a starting receiver, it's going to really upgrade this draft class for us.
Yeah, Burton was the one to watch because a lot of people were really high on Roman Wilson out of Michigan. He went 4 spots later to Steelers in the 3rd round. I think Roman Wilson is going to be a solid receiver. He's a lot safer pick. I think it's more likely that he's going to hit his 50th or 75th percentile ability. But the player of Jermaine Burton's ability, if he can keep his shit straight, keep his head on straight, I mean, that's lights out. Again, that's 1st round talent. And you don't pass that up at that round. Like, he doesn't have a criminal record. Like he's just a knucklehead that just has issues.
Got some anger issues.
Being an idiot. Yeah, exactly. And that's stuff, your frontal lobe, which is where like your brain processes, that doesn't mature until you're 25. Like, these are still kids. Like, outside of Tanner McLaughlin, who is almost 25.
No, he is 25.
Okay.
He's been 25.
Yeah. So I mean, like, these are kids, man. Like, they're gonna do some dumb shit. You make sure they have guys surrounding them that that'll keep them from doing dumb stuff. And the Bengals have a solid. Again, Troy Walters is one of the best wide receiver coaches out there. T. Higgins is a great guy, even though he's you hear other crap coming about him wanting a new deal or wanting traded. Like, T. Higgins is not going to be out there bad mouthing or trying to lead him astray. He's a good dude that just wants to get paid like he should.
No,
and the rest of that room, they're just solid guys. So
T. Higgins is going to go out there and play his ass off.
Exactly.
Like, regardless if he has a new contract or what.
Exactly. So I mean, he's coming to a good situation. Plus, you keep your head on straight. You get to catch balls from Joe fucking Burrow.
Yeah, literally.
There's only one of those guys out there that's going to be able to get that ball there on time, catch it in stride. Exactly. So, yeah, I think he's going to be just fine in being able to keep might get some stupid personal foul penalty for because he likes to run his mouth a bit, and he might be the one to it's the second one to react that gets the flag, so he might get 1 or 2 of those as young player. But yeah, I think 100%. He'll be fine. And Roman Wilson, great, he might be fine. But when's the last Michigan receiver that's had a Braylon Edwards? Yeah,
probably. That's had an impact.
It's been a minute.
Oh, Devin Funchess, but he played quarterback in college.
I was gonna say did he make an impact? Like, he was he was rostered. I mean, he was
he was like wide receiver 2 or 3 the year they made the Super Bowl. He was on the Panthers.
Was he? I knew he was on the Panthers. I didn't. Okay.
I
But
believe
that's still going back a while. That was over a decade ago, right?
They made trying to think the year they made the Super Bowl.
Because he was
2015. Yeah, he had
okay,
500 yards and 800 yards in 2017. Yeah, he was an impact player.
Okay. Regardless, I still, you get a lot better results from the Alabama receiver room, and he played at Georgia for 2 years before that, so a lot more of a pedigree from those spots than from Michigan. I'm not a huge 100%. Michigan fan. I hate Ohio State, but I'm not a huge Michigan fan either. So
you don't like either.
Screw the entire Big Ten. I don't like the SEC, but like, give me a choice between those two. Yeah, give me the SEC. It's more fun.
Yeah, true.
All right, we named off a lot of names and all that fun shit. So no more draft, no more stuff like that. Any bets for the weekend? We got a NBA playoffs still rolling. What do you have? This will go up late tonight, so I don't know if anyone will catch it for Thursday night games. But what are your best bets for the weekend? Put you on the spot here.
Mavericks money line tomorrow. Versus
Smart.
Clippers. I think they close the Clippers out in 6. They're back at home tomorrow, so give me the Mavs to win that game.
If only Kawhi was healthy, you could read that every year for the past 10 years.
Literally. This is their 5th year, and they have one conference finals to show for it. And the year they made the conference finals, Kawhi didn't even play. Paul George took him to the conference finals. So, like, I think this is the 4th straight year Kawhi has been hurt in the playoffs. That's absurd. Great
talent. It's just like, are you snake bit? Like, what are you doing?
He's gonna have the weirdest career of anybody in NBA history because he's gonna barely score 15,000 points in his career. Yet he's a 2-time Finals MVP. Was arguably the best player in the world at a point.
Yeah,
seriously.
One of the top 10 defensive players of all time. At least at his peak. He has
three Defensive Player of the Year awards.
Yeah.
And he's going to end up a top 40 player ever by only scoring 15,000 points.
Yeah.
He's had a weird career.
I was a huge Spurs guy. Like, I'm not a big NBA follower, but I love Tim Duncan. I love David Robinson going back to early 90s. And I was miffed when he left. When he left San Antonio, went to Toronto, won a title, cool. But I'm like, you don't leave Coach Popovich. Yeah. And then Popovich is turning out to be a bit of a whack job.
A little bit.
So, any handicapping? You're going to the Derby. Do you do any handicapping for the ponies?
I'm going to. I have no idea who I'm betting on yet. I'm going to take a long shot for sure. This is all random, so I'm taking a long shot. Something that's at least 15-1 odds or higher, probably. Like I'm taking an underdog for sure.
The money's better. I have no idea how to outside of just put money on the winner. Yeah.
The guy who won last year, Mage or whatever, the horse that won last year was like 15-1. Like it's not usually the favorites don't usually even win.
Yeah.
So might as well just take something with way better odds. $50 could turn into $750. Like seriously.
I like Anarchy and Chaos. Like what was it? I think 5 years ago when the winner got disqualified after the race.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that I like it because it just makes people just lose their fucking minds, and it's just fantastic. Like if I don't have a rooting interest, like NCAA tournament, like my Bearcats didn't make it, so I want chaos. Like I want all the number 1 seeds to lose, or I want
I just like
weird shit to happen.
Win. Once I don't have interest in who wins, I just want the underdogs to win every time.
Or
I was so invested in the Heat to win the finals last year. Like seriously.
Or I like the hated favorite to win, like Duke, just because it's going to piss off a lot of people. If my team isn't there, I just want a lot of people pissed off and just angry.
You just want angry fans,
right? Your misery. I feed on your misery. I feel like it's part of the dark side or something. Like I'm Palpatine.
That's funny.
This is my first Star Wars reference I have ever made. In God, we are almost 80 episodes deep. I've done just on the Bengals show. Like, so, hey, I'm getting there, folks. I've seen the movies. I'm not becoming one of you guys. Never be a Star Wars guy.
I've never even watched Star Wars.
A couple of them are fine, but like people make it their life, and I'm like, it's fine, and then it's redundant, and it's okay. I like original story. I don't like these franchises. I've watched the entire Marvel Infinity saga through all the Captain Americas and Avengers and Iron Man and all that shit. I'm like, there were some decent movies, but they're like, give me an original story, give me character, like give me something like this. This is dry. Give me something else, Make good movies, damn it. Anyway, before we get out of here, any final words?
Not really. Excited to have football finally ramp up here soon because the NBA playoffs are going on. Once that's over, we're going to have the most boring 2 months where it's just baseball. I love baseball, but I need a second sport with baseball. I'm not going to lie. I need basketball or football with it too. So
follow golf. Like when you're.
I've never gotten into it.
It's boring as hell, but I can still sit there on a weekend, especially on a Saturday afternoon, and watch the final crew come down the back nine.
There's Olympics this year.
Oh yeah, there's that. By the time we come out next week, schedule release will be out there. Are you someone who gives a shit about that?
What do you mean?
The NFL schedule release is coming out on the 8th.
Yeah, decently.
I
look at it, but like I'm not like, oh my god, like analyzing it.
They make a big deal, like we know who they're going to play, and outside of like finding out when they're playing in prime time or if the Bengals are going to go to Munich to play Carolina, I'm like, okay, cool. If it's a 1:00 game, I want all 17 games 1:00 on the East Coast on Sunday.
Agreed.
Primetime games. I'm too old to stay up. My kids have to go to bed early, so I gotta go to bed because I gotta wake up early in the morning and just 1:00 on Sunday. Show. Think of me. All right, everyone. This has been fun. You all have a good weekend. Enjoy watching the ponies if you're into the ponies, and outside of that, see you all next week.
See you guys.